The night was quiet on the dusty alien starport road. Only the sound of engines far away broke the silence. The lamps gave a weak glow, and the wind carried the smell of oil and sand. A lone human walked slowly, his boots leaving prints on the cracked ground. His name was Daniel, a traveler with no fixed home. He had seen many worlds, many faces, but tonight felt different. At the corner of the road, Daniel saw a small figure sitting under a broken lamp. At first he thought it was only a beggar, but as he walked closer he noticed the figure was shaking, small hands covering her face. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, her hair long and dark with a strange shine. Her clothes were torn, her feet dusty. She looked like a child. Daniel stopped a few steps away. The girl looked up. Her large eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, wet from crying. She whispered in a broken voice, "Please, be my dad. I won't misbehave." Daniel froze. His heart skipped. He had heard many strange things in alien ports, but never a plea like this. He looked around, afraid it might be a trick. But the road was empty. Only this little girl sat there, desperate and alone. "Where's your family?" he asked slowly. His voice was calm, but his eyes stayed sharp. The girl wiped her face with her sleeve. "My stepmother, she kicked me out. She said I was useless. She said I eat too much. She doesn't want me." Her voice cracked as tears rolled down again. Daniel felt something twist in his chest. He had lived long enough to know cruelty, but hearing it from a child's mouth burned deeper. He knelt down, keeping some distance. "What's your name?" "Lyra," she whispered. Her thin hands clutched the edge of her torn dress. "I can work. I can clean. I won't ask for much, just please don't leave me." Daniel sighed. His eyes studied her. She was small, weak, and clearly hungry. Her cheeks hollow, her lips dry. His mind told him to walk away. Taking in an alien child was dangerous. Families fought, governments controlled, and laws punished strangers who interfered. But his heart told him something else before he could answer. The wind carried voices from the distance, harsh, angry voices. Daniel's head turned sharply. He saw 3 shadows moving at the far end of the road, their steps quick, their voices louder. They were calling her name. "Lyra, come out, you little thief," one of them shouted. The girl gasped and pressed against the wall, her eyes wide with fear. Her hands shook. "Please, don't let them take me," she begged, almost crawling toward Daniel. Daniel stood, his body tense. He had seen hunters before, people who chased the weak. He didn't know if they worked for her stepmother or for someone else, but the terror on the girl's face was real. The shadows grew clearer, 2 alien men and 1 tall woman. Their armor was worn, but heavy. Their eyes searched the road like predators. One of them carried a chain, the other a sharp blade. Daniel whispered quickly to Lyra, "Stay behind me." His voice was low but strong. The girl clung to his leg, hiding. The hunters stopped when they saw Daniel. One of them sneered, "Human, step aside. That girl is not yours." Daniel kept his voice steady. "And who are you to decide that?" The woman stepped forward, her eyes cold. "She is property. She belongs to her stepmother's house. Give her to us and you can walk away." Daniel felt the girl's hand tighten on his coat, her body shaking. He looked down at her, then back. At them, his jaw hardened. "You call a child property," Daniel said. His voice carried sharp anger now. "Not tonight." The hunters laughed. "You think you can stop us, human? You don't even know what she carries." Their words made Daniel pause. He glanced down at Lyra again. Confusion flickered in his eyes. What did they mean? But there was no time. The hunters began to move forward, their boots hitting the ground with heavy thuds. Lyra whimpered, hiding her face in his coat. Daniel stood tall. The lonely road stretched empty behind him. Danger walked toward him, and a fragile child clung to his side. His mind raced. He could still walk away, leave her, save himself. But the words she spoke echoed in his heart. "Be my dad. I won't misbehave." Daniel's hand slowly curled into a fist. His choice was clear. The night was no longer quiet. The storm was about to begin. Daniel led the little alien girl away from the broken road. His steps were fast, his eyes always moving, checking the shadows. The hunters had not followed. Maybe they feared a crowd near the market, but Daniel knew it was not over. They would come again. The girl, Lyra, walked close to him, her thin legs shaking. Every few steps she looked back, afraid they would return. Daniel noticed how weak she was. Her breath came heavy. Her arms hung limp. She looked like she had not eaten in days. When they reached a small food stall glowing under neon lights, Daniel stopped. He looked at her pale face and asked, "Hungry?" Lyra's lips moved, but no sound came. She only nodded quickly, her eyes wide like a child who could not dare hope. Daniel paid the old stall owner a few coins and ordered something simple, hot bread and thick stew. When the plate came, Daniel pushed it toward her. She did not wait. Her small hands grabbed the bread and she stuffed it into her mouth so fast she almost choked. The owner frowned, but Daniel raised a hand. "It's fine," he said. His eyes stayed on her. Lyra ate like someone who thought the food would be stolen. Every bite was rushed, every swallow painful. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He remembered days long ago when he had nothing but scraps, when hunger was his only friend. That memory made him softer toward her. After a while, her speed slowed. She looked up at him with big eyes. Ashamed. "Sorry," she whispered, crumbs falling from her lips. Daniel shook his head. "Don't be sorry, you needed it." For the first time, her face showed something other than fear, relief. She took another slow bite and whispered, "Thank you." "Dad?" The word cut through Daniel like a blade. He froze. He wanted to correct her, tell her he was not her father. But when he opened his mouth, no words came. He only looked away, staring at the crowd moving outside the stall. As Lyra finished the stew, she pulled back her sleeve. She rubbed her wrist as if it hurt. Daniel's eyes caught something strange. A faint glow shone under her skin, a mark shaped like lines and stars. "What's that?" Daniel asked, his tone sharp. Lyra pulled her sleeve down quickly, her shoulders stiff. "My father. Before he died, he told me never to show it. He said it was dangerous. He said it was mine to keep safe." Her voice trembled. Daniel leaned closer, whispering, "That mark, I've seen it before on old star maps. It points to..." He stopped himself. His memories of forgotten ruins and lost treasures stirred inside him. But before he could ask more, a sound broke the moment. Boots on the ground, shouts outside the stall. Daniel's head turned sharply. Through the neon light, he saw the same hunters from the road. They were pushing through the crowd, searching. Lyra's face went white. She gripped Daniel's sleeve. "They're here," she whispered, panic in her voice. Daniel stood, pulling her up quickly. He threw coins on the table and guided her through the back of the stall. The owner yelled something, but Daniel didn't care. The alley was dark, narrow, smelling of rust and garbage. Daniel led her fast. His mind raced. He didn't know why these hunters wanted her, but now he had seen the mark. He understood there was more to her story. Much more. "Why are they after you?" Daniel asked as they ran. Lyra's breath shook. "My stepmother said I was worthless, but maybe she lied. Maybe she knew about the mark. She wants it. She wants me gone so she can keep everything." Her words matched what Daniel feared. The stepmother wasn't just cruel. She was dangerous. As they reached the end of the alley, Daniel stopped. He crouched and looked into her eyes. "Listen to me, Lyra, you're not safe here. If you stay, they'll take you. If you come with me, I can't promise it will be easy, but I won't let them hurt you." Her lips trembled, tears shining. "Do you mean it? You won't leave me?" Daniel nodded, his jaw tight. "I don't walk away from people who need me." From behind, the hunters' voices echoed through the alley, getting closer. Daniel grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run," he said firmly. They sprinted into the maze of the starport, their footsteps lost in the noise of engines. Lyra's small hand clung to his tightly. Daniel could feel her heart racing. Or maybe it was his own. The night that began on a lonely road had now turned into something greater. The meal they shared was not just food, it was a bond, fragile but real. And deep inside Daniel a thought grew. He was no longer just a traveler. He was becoming something else, something he had never planned, a father. The night air outside the starport was heavy with smoke and dust. Neon signs flickered above broken buildings, and the sound of ships lifting off echoed far in the sky. Daniel guided Lyra through narrow alleys until the noise of the hunters faded. They stopped in a quiet corner behind a storage yard. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder, his breath steady but sharp. "You need to tell me everything," he said firmly. His eyes looked serious, not unkind, but heavy. Lyra lowered her gaze. Her small hands twisted the edge of her torn dress. She whispered, "If I tell you, you might leave me." Daniel crouched down so he could see her eyes. "I won't leave, but I can't protect you if I don't know what's chasing you." For a long moment she stayed quiet. Then slowly, with trembling fingers, she pulled her sleeve up. The glow returned. A strange mark carved under her skin, thin lines connecting to form the shape of stars. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive. Daniel stared at it, his memory raced. He had seen this symbol before many years ago, carved into old stones on a forgotten moon. It was not just art, it was a star map, an ancient one. "Do you know what this is?" he asked, his voice low, careful. Lyra shook her head quickly. "My father said it was my birthright. He told me never to let anyone touch it. He died before he could explain more. The stepmother hates it. She says it is cursed." Daniel frowned. "Cursed? No, this was not a curse. This was power, hidden and old." He touched his chin, thinking, "Your stepmother wants this, doesn't she? That's why she threw you out." Lyra's eyes widened with sudden fear. "She doesn't just want it. She wants what it leads to," I heard her whisper once. "She said the map would open the vault of stars." "I don't know what that means." Daniel's breath caught. The vault of stars. He had heard whispers of it too. Legends told of a place that held weapons, knowledge, or treasures so powerful that entire empires fought to find it. No one ever had because the key was lost, but the key wasn't lost. It was standing right in front of him, hiding behind torn clothes and frightened eyes. Daniel stood slowly, his heart heavy with the weight of choice. He never wanted to be part of something this big. He was just a traveler. But now, fate had placed this girl in his path. Before he could say more, a loud crash echoed from the street. Daniel pulled Lyra. Back into the shadows, three figures moved past the storage yard gates, torches in hand, hunters again. Their voices sharp. "Check everywhere. The girl must be near. The mark belongs to the house." Lyra pressed against Daniel, her small body trembling. He placed a finger on his lips, telling her to stay silent. They waited until the hunters passed, the sound of their boots fading away. When the danger was gone, Daniel whispered, "You can't stay in this city. They will keep coming. We need to move. I know a place far outside the colony. It's not much, but it will keep you safe for now." Lyra's eyes filled with hope, but also doubt. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. You could have left me back there." Daniel looked at her. His voice was calm, steady. "Because I know what it feels like to be thrown away, and because someone has to stand between you and them. Right now, that someone is me." Her lips trembled, and then she whispered the word again. "Dad." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. His chest felt heavy. He had never been a father. He never thought he would be. But the way she said it, it reached somewhere deep inside him. Somewhere he thought was long dead. They left the yard and walked. Through quieter streets, Daniel led her toward the edge of the city where lights grew dim and the ground turned to sand. Along the way, he asked, "Did your father say anything else about the mark?" Lyra thought hard. "He said when the time was right, the stars themselves would call. He said the mark was not just mine, it was a key, but I don't know what it opens." Daniel's mind spun. A key to the vault of stars, a girl hunted by her own stepmother, and now he was tangled in it. He knew the hunters would not stop. The stepmother would send more, stronger ones, maybe even soldiers. But he also knew one more thing. He was not going to hand her over. Whatever came, he would fight. The wind grew colder as they reached the outer road. Lyra walked close, her glowing wrist hidden once more. Daniel glanced down at her. His jaw tightened. He whispered to himself, "So this is the lonely road I take now." Far behind them, in the city, a bell rang out. A signal. A warning. Daniel knew it meant only one thing. The hunt had just begun, and the strange mark on the girl's arm was no longer a secret. It was a beacon, and it would soon change both of their lives forever. The road outside the colony was almost empty. The night stretched wide, stars hidden behind heavy clouds. Daniel walked fast, Lyra's small hand tight in his. Every sound in the distance made him tense. He knew the hunters would not give up. They reached the edge of a broken bridge. Beyond it lay the path toward the outer desert where Daniel's small shelter waited. He slowed his steps, his eyes scanning the shadows. Lyra looked up at him with worried eyes. "Are we safe now?" she asked softly. Daniel shook his head. "Not yet," he said. "Hunters don't stop until they have what they want." His words proved true. A sudden echo of boots came from behind them. Daniel turned. His eyes narrowed. In the dim light, he saw figures stepping out of the darkness. 3 hunters. The same ones from the market. This time they were armed and ready. The leader, a tall alien woman with scarred skin, raised her hand. "Enough running, human," she called. "Give us the girl, and we'll let you walk away alive." Lyra pressed. Closer to Daniel, her voice cracked. "They'll hurt me." Daniel stood firm, his shoulders squared, his voice cold. "You'll have to go through me first." The hunters laughed, but their eyes were sharp. The man with the chain spun it in the air, the sound like a snake hissing. The other drew a blade that shimmered with faint light. They spread out slowly, circling. Daniel whispered quickly to Lyra, "When I say run, you run, don't stop no matter what happens." Her eyes filled with tears. "But you'll be hurt." He gave her a quick look, firm but gentle. "I've been hurt before, just trust me." The first hunter lunged forward, swinging the chain. Daniel dodged to the side, the metal snapping through the air where his head had been. He grabbed a loose rock from the ground and threw it hard. It struck the man in the chest, making him stumble back. The second hunter came with the blade, fast and sharp. Daniel caught his arm mid-swing, twisting hard until the blade fell. The hunter roared in pain, but Daniel kicked him away before he could recover. Lyra stood frozen, watching with wide eyes. Her small hands trembled. Daniel shouted, "Run!" But she did not run. She couldn't. Fear rooted her in place. The leader saw this and smirked. She stepped toward the girl. "The mark belongs to us, child. Your stepmother will pay well." Daniel's heart pounded. He lunged forward, blocking her path. His fists clenched. He struck her across the face. The blow staggered her, but she only smiled with bloody teeth. "You fight well for a human, but you'll lose." The hunters regrouped, surrounding him again. Daniel's chest heaved with breath. He was strong, but they were many. His eyes darted to Lyra. If they caught her, all of this was for nothing. Then something unexpected happened. Lyra lifted her glowing wrist. The mark pulsed brighter than before. Lines of light stretched out like threads in the air. For a moment, the hunters froze, staring at it in shock. "What is this?" One hissed, shielding his eyes. Lyra's voice trembled. "Stay away from me." She did not understand how, but the mark answered her fear. Its glow spread like fire across her arm. Daniel saw the chance. He rushed forward, grabbing Lyra and pulling her close. "Move!" he shouted. Together they pushed past the stunned hunters running across the bridge. Behind them, the leader screamed, "Catch them! Don't let the mark escape!" Arrows of light shot past them. Weapons fired. In anger, Daniel shielded Lyra with his body. The bridge shook under their feet, parts of it breaking apart. Still, they ran, Daniel's strength carrying them through. When they reached the other side, Daniel glanced back. The hunters were still following, but slower, afraid of the unstable bridge. Their voices echoed, promising revenge. Lyra gasped for air, her small chest rising and falling. She clung to Daniel's arm. "I'm sorry. I couldn't run." Daniel knelt down. placing a hand on her shoulder. His voice was steady. You don't need to be sorry. You were brave. You faced them. She looked at her glowing wrist, still trembling faintly with power. What happened to me? Why did the mark do that? Daniel stared at it, his jaw tight. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's the reason they want you. And it's the reason I can't leave you. Far in the distance, lights from the colony flickered. Hunters, still searched. Their pursuit was not over. Daniel knew the stepmother would send more stronger than these. He stood tall again, looking into the desert ahead, his voice low, filled with resolve. We keep moving, Lyra, no matter what. We stay. Together? The girl nodded, wiping her tears. For the first time she smiled faintly. Thank you. Dad? Daniel looked at her, his chest heavy. He didn't answer, but he didn't need to. The bond was already there. The night wind carried their steps into the endless desert. The hunters were behind them, the mystery of the mark ahead of them, and somewhere in the shadows, danger prepared to strike again. The desert stretched far, empty and silent. The stars above looked cold and the ground was hard under their boots. Daniel led Lyra along a narrow trail, his step steady, hers small and uneven. She was tired, but she refused to let go of his. After hours of walking, a shape appeared in the distance. A small hut built from stone and metal scraps, half hidden under a dune. It was not much, but it was Daniel's shelter, far from the noise of the colony, far from Hunter's eyes. When they reached it, Daniel pushed open the heavy door. Inside was simple: one table, a bed, and shelves with a few tools. The air smelled of old wood and sand. Daniel lit a small lamp, filling the room with warm light. Lyra stepped inside slowly, her eyes wide. This is your home? She whispered. Daniel nodded, placing his bag on the table. It's not big, but it's safe, and right now safe is what you need. She touched the shelves with her fingers. Tracing the dust, her lips curled into a small smile. It's nicer than the cellar my stepmother locked me in. Daniel's chest tightened at her words. He wanted to ask more, but stopped. The pain in her voice was enough. Instead, he pointed to the bed. Sit, you need rest. She obeyed, sitting quietly, her legs swinging. Her glowing wrist caught his eye again. He sat opposite her, staring at it. That mark, it saved us back on the bridge, he said. Do you feel anything? When it glows. Lyra looked at it carefully, her brow furrowed. It feels warm, like it's alive. Sometimes it beats like a heart. Sometimes it whispers. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Whispers? She nodded, lowering her voice. Not words, I understand. Just sounds. Like the stars are talking. My father told me never to fear it, but I do. Daniel leaned back, rubbing his jaw. He had heard of relics and maps that carried voices, things too ancient to belong to one species. But hearing it, from a child, made it heavier. Lyra's eyes searched his face. Will you leave me if it's dangerous? Daniel looked at her firmly. No, I won't. Danger or not, you're not alone anymore. Tears welled in her eyes and she whispered, Then I'll be good, I promise. I won't misbehave. I'll make you proud. Daniel's chest ached at her words. He wanted to tell her she didn't need to earn his care, but the words stayed stuck in his throat. Instead, he reached over and covered her hand with his rough hand swallowing her small one. The night passed slowly. Outside, the desert wind howled. Inside, Lyra lay curled on the bed, her hair falling. Across her face, Daniel sat by the table, his eyes never leaving the door. He could not rest, not when hunters were still searching. At dawn, Lyra stirred. She rubbed her eyes and looked at him. Did you sleep? Daniel shook his head. Didn't need to. She tilted her head, studying him. You remind me of my father, she said softly. He used to sit by my bed too. He said he'd always protect me, but then he was gone. Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to tell her he was no replacement, but the hope in her eyes stopped him. Suddenly, a sharp sound outside made him rise. His hand went to the knife on the shelf. He moved to the window, peering out. In the distance, 3 dark shapes moved across the dunes, hunters again. Their pace was slow, but their direction was clear. They were coming. Daniel turned back quickly. "We can't stay long, they'll find this place." Lyra's face paled. "Where do we go?" Daniel's mind raced. He thought of the mark, of the vault of stars, of the stepmother's greed. He realized running forever would not work. They needed answers. They needed allies. "We go to the old ruins," he said finally. "The mark is a map, and maps always lead somewhere. Maybe the answers are there." Lyra hesitated, her small hand going to her glowing wrist. "What if it's a trap? What if I'm not strong enough?" Daniel crouched in front of her, his voice steady. "Then we face it together. Whatever it is, you won't face it alone." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time she nodded with courage. The hunters. Shadows grew closer. Daniel grabbed his pack and weapons. He looked at the girl who now sat straighter, braver than before, and felt something shift inside him. He was no longer just protecting her out of pity. He was protecting her because she had become his. The hidden shelter had given them one night of peace, but peace never lasted. The journey was only beginning, and the strange mark on her arm would soon decide the fate of more than just a frightened child and a tired traveler. Back in the city, the stepmother sat in her high chair, made of glass and steel. Her name was Selvara, and her face was as sharp. As the jewels she wore around her stood guards with long rifles. Their eyes scanned the room nervously. A servant knelt before her, trembling. "Mistress, the hunters failed again. The girl escaped. The human protects her." Selvara's lips curved into a cold smile. "Good," she whispered. "Let them run. Every step they take brings them closer to what I want." The guards exchanged uneasy glances. None dared to ask what she meant, but Selvara's mind was already far ahead. She stood, walking toward the large window of her chamber. The city lights glowed below, but her eyes were on the stars above. "That child carries the key to the vault of stars," she said almost to herself. "Her father hid it in her blood, and now she wanders with it, so close, yet so foolish." One guard finally spoke, his voice stiff. "Mistress, should we not capture her alive and bring her here?" Selvara turned, her gaze sharp enough to cut. "Alive, yes, but not too soon. The human is useful, he will keep her safe. He will lead her where I cannot go unnoticed. And when the mark awakens fully, then I will take them both." Her fingers traced the chain around her neck. At the end of it hung a shard of crystal glowing faintly. It pulsed in rhythm with the same star mark hidden on Lyra's wrist. Selvara whispered, "The girl has half the map. I have the other." Together they opened the vault, alone. They are nothing. She clenched the crystal in her hand, her voice turning venomous. "The vault holds more than treasure, it holds weapons, power that can bend whole worlds, and it will be mine." Far away, Daniel and Lyra crossed the desert, unaware of the stepmother's watching eyes, but Selvara's reach was long. She called one of her captains, a tall alien with scarred arms. "Send the signal to the council," she ordered. "Tell them the human has kidnapped my stepchild. Tell them he is a thief and a traitor. I want every soldier in this sector searching for him. Place a bounty so high even his own kind will turn against him." The captain bowed. "As you command, mistress." Selvara's laugh was soft, but cruel. "Let him think he is her savior. Let him think he can hide soon. The entire system will. Hunt him. He cannot win." Meanwhile, in the desert shelter, Daniel felt the shift before it arrived. At dawn, he noticed traders whispering in the market outside the dunes. Their voices carried words like kidnapper and bounty. He knew trouble had grown larger than hunters now. He returned to Lyra, who was sitting quietly, tracing shapes in the sand with her glowing wrist. "We don't have much time," Daniel said, his voice heavy. "Your stepmother has spread lies. She's turning everyone against us." Lyra's face paled. She always hated me, but why go so far? Daniel hesitated, then told her the truth. "Because of the vault. Because the mark on your arm is the key. She already has the other half. She needs you to finish it." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. So she never hated me for who I was. She hated me for what I carried. Daniel crouched beside her, his voice softer now. No. She hated you because she feared you. Power makes people cruel. But you're not just a key, Lyra. You're a child. You deserve a life, not chains. Her lip trembled, but she nodded bravely. Then we can't run anymore, can we? If she has half the map and I have the other, she will never stop. Daniel's jaw tightened. No, she won't stop. That's why we go to the ruins. We'll find the truth before she does. We'll end this. Back in the city, Silvara raised, her crystal shard to the sky. The glow intensified. A projection of stars filled her chamber, lines connecting, showing a path through space. Half of the map shone bright. The other half, Lyra's half, remained dark. Silvara whispered, "Soon, child. Soon you will bring me what I need and the vault will open. Not for you, not for the human, but for me." Her laughter echoed through the chamber, cruel and endless. Out in the desert, Daniel tightened the straps of his pack. He looked at Lyra, who now stood taller, her eyes clearer than before. She was scared, but also strong. He thought to himself, the stepmother thinks she holds all the cards, but she doesn't know what it means when a human decides to fight for someone. The hunters were only the beginning. Armies would come next, and lies would spread. But Daniel had made his choice. He would protect the girl, not just because of the mark, not just because of destiny, but because she had asked him to be her father. And now, for the first time in many years, he felt like one. The ruins rose from the desert like broken teeth, giant stones half buried in sand. Symbols glowed faintly on their surfaces, the same lines Daniel had seen on Lyra's wrist. The air around the ruins felt heavy, as if the stars themselves were watching. Daniel and Lyra stood at the entrance. Her wrist glowed brighter than ever, the mark pulsing like a heartbeat. Lyra shivered. "It feels alive," she whispered. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "Stay close. Whatever happens, we face it." Together, they stepped inside. The ground was smooth, carved by hands older than any empire. At the center of the ruins was a great stone door, sealed with two glowing shapes, one half bright like Lyra's mark, the other faint, waiting for its twin. Before they could move closer, voices filled the chamber. Daniel spun, his knife ready. From the shadows, Silvara stepped forward, her crystal shard glowing in her hand. Behind her marched soldiers armored and armed, their eyes cold. Lyra gasped. "Stepmother." Silvara's smile was sharp. "My dear child, you've saved me the trouble of searching, and you brought the human too. How convenient." Daniel stepped in front of Lyra, his stance firm. "You won't touch her." Silvara laughed softly. "You think you can stop me, human? I raised armies with a whisper. I bent councils with lies. Do you really think your fists will matter?" She lifted the shard high, and the stone door responded, its symbols glowing brighter. Lyra's wrist burned with light. She cried out, clutching, and Daniel caught her before she fell. "Stay strong," he whispered, but inside he felt the pressure of something bigger than both of them. Silvara stretched her hand toward the girl. "Come, Lyra, you were never meant to be a beggar's daughter. With me, you will open the vault, and we will share its power." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head. "You never wanted me. You only wanted this mark. You threw me away." Silvara's smile vanished, replaced with cold fury. "Ungrateful child, I gave you a home, and you repay me with betrayal? Fine. If you will not come willingly, I will take you by force." She motioned to the soldiers, "Seize them." The chamber erupted into chaos. Soldiers rushed forward. Daniel fought like a storm, his knife struck, his fist slammed. He moved faster than fear, protecting Lyra with every strike. But there were too many. His arms ached. Blood trickled down. His side still he stood, refusing to fall. "Run!" he shouted to Lyra, but she didn't run. She stood near the stone door, her wrist blazing like fire. The mark pulsed in rhythm with the door. The ruins shook, dust falling from the ceiling. Silvara stepped closer, her shard glowing. She cried out in triumph, "Yes, Together they awakened the vault. But then something happened. Selvara did not expect. The mark on Lyra's wrist flared brighter than her shard, overpowering it. The two halves connected, but the light chose not Selvara. It chose Lyra. The door opened slowly, revealing a chamber. Of endless light inside, it was not filled with gold or weapons. It was filled with stars, floating orbs of memory and knowledge, the history of civilizations long dead. Lyra's small body trembled. She looked at the door, then at Daniel. Her voice was steady for the first time. It's mine to choose, Selvara screamed, rushing forward. No, it belongs to me. Daniel lunged, blocking her path. His fist collided with her face. She staggered back, rage twisting her features. Lyra raised her glowing hand. The vault's light responded. A wave of force erupted, throwing Selvara and her soldiers to the ground. Their weapons clattered away. The chamber filled with silence, broken only by Lyra's soft breathing. Daniel stared at her in awe. You did it. Lyra lowered her hand, tears on her cheeks. I don't want power. I just want a home. Selvara hissed from the floor. Foolish child, you could rule empires. Lyra shook her head, stepping behind Daniel. I don't want empires, I want a father. Daniel's chest swelled. His throat burned. He placed a hand on her shoulder, looking straight at Selvara. You lost because you never understood what she truly needed. The vault's door began to close, sealing the light away once more. Lyra's wrist dimmed, the mark fading into silence. Daniel guided her out as Selvara screamed, trapped with her broken soldiers in the dark chamber. Outside, the desert wind welcomed them. The stars above seemed brighter. Lyra leaned into Daniel's side, exhausted. Will you still be my dad? She asked softly. Daniel looked down at her. His rough hand brushed her hair gently. His voice was steady but full of warmth. You don't need to ask anymore. You already are my daughter. Her lips curved into a tired smile. She whispered, Then I'm not alone anymore. Daniel lifted her into his arms, carrying her into the night. The vault behind them held mysteries. The stepmother's plan was broken, but the real treasure had already been found. Family, for Daniel, the lonely road was over. For Lyra, a new life had just begun.